and then Johnny slit her throat too. And actually hit her in the back of the head with the tire iron. Well, not the back of the head, but like right where your spine is. Because he was telling me, he was like, if you hit right there, like just one like good hit, you can just knock the person out and then they'll be dead. And she was like pretending to be dead for a while. Like I would, check up on her and I would see that she was still breathing. And I'll be like, Johnny, she's still alive. What the heck? And then like Johnny finally like made the like last blow, and it was kind of creepy because she was like scared to die. Like she shitted herself and peed herself.
How did she?
It was kind of gross.
She's 17 years old. Bandages on both wrists from a suicide attempt that failed 2 days ago. She's sitting across from homicide detectives who just discovered 2 bodies decomposing in a sealed bedroom. And she's laughing. Not nervous laughter. Not shock. She's smirking at these detectives like they're wasting her time, like this whole thing is beneath her. The detectives let her talk, let her play her little games, let her believe she's the smartest person in the room. She has no idea what they're about to show her. While she was recovering in that hospital bed, investigators pieced together a timeline so disturbing that even veteran detectives struggled to process it. They know exactly what happened in that house. They know how long it went on. They know about things she never expected anyone to discover. And those 2 bodies found rotting in that sealed bedroom, they were her grandparents. The same grandparents who took legal custody of her when no one else could handle her, who believed they could save her, who spent their retirement trying to give her a second chance at life. This is the story of Cassandra Bjorga, a teenager who thought she could laugh her way through a murder investigation. She was wrong. Cassandra Bjorg grew up in Duluth, Georgia, a suburb northeast of Atlanta where families moved for good schools and quiet neighborhoods. Her childhood should have been ordinary. It was anything but. Her father wasn't in the picture. That absence left her mother, Amanda Sterling, to raise Cassandra alone. And from an early age, something about Cassandra was different. Not quirky different. Not rebellious teenager different. Something deeper. Something that made the adults around her increasingly uneasy. The behavioral problems started young and escalated with each passing year. Cassandra ran away constantly. She skipped school so often that attendance became meaningless. She started drinking before she was old enough to drive. Shoplifting became routine. She fell in with crowds that made her mother lose sleep. Amanda tried everything a single mother could try. Punishment, counseling, reasoning, begging. Nothing worked. Cassandra seemed to enjoy the chaos she created. She treated rules like suggestions and consequences like minor inconveniences. By her mid-teens, Cassandra had developed a reputation with local law enforcement. The same officers kept responding to the same calls. Runaway, disturbance, theft. Each incident worse than the last. Each interaction revealing a teenager who seemed completely indifferent to authority, to consequences, to the people trying to help her. Amanda eventually reached a breaking point. She couldn't control her daughter. She couldn't protect her from herself. She couldn't keep living in constant crisis mode. So she turned to her parents for help. Randall and Wendy Bjorga were both 63 years old. They'd spent decades working, raising their family, building a life together. Their retirement was supposed to be peaceful. Trips, hobbies, time with grandchildren under pleasant circumstances. Instead, they watched their granddaughter spiral from a distance, and they made a decision that would ultimately cost them everything. In 2016, Randall and Wendy filed for legal custody of Cassandra. They believed what so many grandparents believe when they step in to help troubled grandchildren, that love and stability could fix what was broken, that a change of environment would make the difference, that removing Cassandra from bad influences in Duluth and bringing her to their quiet home in Lawrenceville would give her the fresh start she needed. They were good people, Randall and Wendy. Neighbors described them as kind and generous. The type of couple who helped others without being asked. They'd known Cassandra her entire life. They'd taught her to swim when she was little. They remembered the child she used to be, and they believed that child was still in there, somewhere. The first few months in Lawrenceville offered hope. New neighborhood, new school. structure and rules enforced by grandparents who loved her unconditionally. Maybe this would work. The hope didn't last. Police were called to the Bjorga residence on Furlong Run at least 13 times after Cassandra moved in. 13 times in roughly a year. Runaway reports, disturbances, domestic incidents. The same pattern that had exhausted her mother now exhausted her grandparents. Then came the assault. In 2016, Cassandra physically attacked her grandmother. She was charged, a serious escalation from her previous offenses. During the investigation, Randall told detectives something that would prove tragically prophetic. He was afraid his granddaughter might become seriously violent. He mentioned her martial arts training. He'd seen something in her that frightened him. The system processed the charge the way systems do. Cassandra was placed on probation in February 2017. She dropped out of school. She violated the terms of her probation repeatedly, and through it all, she remained living with the grandparents she had already assaulted. Around this time, Cassandra started dating Johnny Ryder. Johnny was 19, 2 years older than Cassandra. He had his own criminal history, including charges for breaking into cars and financial transaction card theft. He wasn't a stabilizing influence. He wasn't the kind of boyfriend who might help Cassandra turn her life around. Their relationship accelerated Cassandra's descent into something much darker than teenage rebellion. Together, they began making plans. Not plans for the future in any normal sense. Not dreams about careers or travel or building a life. They planned murders. Multiple murders. A killing spree that would start with Cassandra's grandparents and continue from there. Johnny's parents were on the list. So was Cassandra's own mother, Amanda. 2 teenagers discussing who they would kill and how they would do it. Treating murder like a project, like something to anticipate. Randall and Wendy had no idea what was being planned under their own roof. They continued trying to help their granddaughter, continued believing that love could overcome whatever darkness had taken root inside her. They had already seen warning signs that would terrify any reasonable person. The assault, the escalating behavior, the grandfather's own stated fears about violence. But they stayed. They kept trying. Because that's what family does. It was a fatal mistake. The attack came at night, sometime around April 1st, 2017. Cassandra and Johnny waited outside the house on Furlong Run, watching the windows. When the last light went out, when Randall and Wendy had gone to bed, when the elderly couple was at their most vulnerable, they made their move. Johnny attacked Randall first with a tire iron. A 63-year-old man, probably half asleep, had no chance to defend himself. The tire iron connected again and again. Cassandra went for her grandmother. She dragged the elderly woman into the same room where her husband was being beaten. She restrained Wendy with duct tape so she couldn't fight back, couldn't run, couldn't do anything but witness and wait. What followed was prolonged and systematic. They used multiple weapons, the tire iron, a hammer, a baseball bat, butcher knives. They beat 2 elderly people who had spent their retirement trying to save one of their attackers. The final act was cutting their throats. When it was over, Randall and Wendy Bjorga lay dead in their own home. The couple who had taught Cassandra to swim, who had fought for custody when no one else could handle her, who had believed until the very end that their love could make a difference. Most killers flee after committing murder. Self-preservation kicks in. The instinct to run, to hide, to put distance between yourself and what you've done. Cassandra and Johnny didn't run. They stayed. They dragged the bodies upstairs and sealed the bedroom doors with caulk. Not out of respect. They sealed the room to contain the smell, because they planned to keep living in the house. For the next week, while Randall and Wendy's bodies decomposed directly above them, Cassandra and Johnny made themselves at home. They smoked marijuana. They watched television. They used the car that belonged to the people they had murdered. They threw parties. Other teenagers came to the house during that week. Friends who had no idea there were corpses rotting upstairs. People came and went while 2 bodies slowly decayed, while the caulk around the bedroom door fought a losing battle against the smell of death. Cassandra and Johnny acted like they'd gotten away with it, Like murdering two elderly people was just another thing that happened. They lived their lives in that house with an ease that defies comprehension. Meanwhile, family members started to worry. No one had heard from Randall and Wendy in days. Phone. Calls went to voicemail. Texts went unanswered. It wasn't like them to go silent. On April 6th, relatives requested a welfare check. Police went to Furlong Run, knocked on the door, looked around. Nothing obviously suspicious. No answer, but no signs of disturbance. They left. Another welfare check on April 7th. Same result. That night, a missing persons report was filed for Randall. The family knew something was wrong. They just couldn't prove it. Inside the house, Cassandra and Johnny knew police had been knocking. They knew people were looking. And still they stayed. Because they weren't done yet. On the night of April 8th, they left Furlong Run with unfinished business. They drove to Rambling Woods Drive, where Johnny's family lived. More names on the kill list. They attacked Johnny's sister and her boyfriend with a baseball bat and pepper spray. The assault was vicious, intended to be fatal. But these victims were younger, stronger, more capable of fighting back. They escaped. They called police. When officers arrived, they found a vehicle registered to Randall and Wendy Bjorga, the couple who hadn't been seen in over a week. The couple whose family had been requesting welfare checks for days. This time, police forced entry into the house on Furlong Run. What they found upstairs confirmed the family's worst fears. 2 bodies in an advanced state of decomposition. A bedroom sealed with caulk. Signs of extreme violence. Throats cut. A crime scene so disturbing that even experienced investigators struggled to process it. The manhunt for Cassandra and Johnny lasted through the night. Detectives tracked them to an apartment complex on McGinnis Ferry Road in Sewanee. By mid-morning on April 9th, SWAT teams surrounded the building. The teenagers refused to surrender. They had made a pact. If they couldn't live as the serial killers they dreamed of becoming, they would die together. When SWAT breached the apartment, they found both suspects with self-inflicted knife, wounds to their wrists, a suicide attempt. Like everything else they had planned beyond the murders, it failed. Both were transported to Gwinnett Medical Center. Both survived. Both would face justice. Days later, Cassandra sat in a police interrogation room. Bandages covered her wrists. Homicide detectives sat across from her, men who had seen the carnage at Furlong Run, who knew exactly what this 17-year-old girl had done. Cassandra should have been terrified. She should have been remorseful. Instead, she smiled. She laughed at inappropriate moments. She deflected questions with casual indifference. She treated the detectives like they were wasting her time. Cassandra believed she could manipulate her way out of this. She'd manipulated people her entire life. Teachers, counselors, her mother, her grandparents. She'd learned that charm and deflection could get her out of most situations. That adults were easy to fool if you knew what to say, but these weren't school. Administrators dealing with a truant student. These were homicide detectives with a sealed crime scene, forensic evidence, witness statements, and a boyfriend who was already talking. The detectives let Cassandra perform. They watched her smirk and giggle through questions about her dead grandparents. They noted every inappropriate reaction, every casual dismissal, every sign that this teenager felt no remorse for what she had done. Then they showed her what they had. The forensic timeline proving exactly when the murders occurred. Physical evidence linking both teenagers to the killings. Statements from other teens who had visited the house during that week. Johnny Ryder's own account of what happened. And Cassandra's demeanor began to shift. The smirk faded. The casual attitude cracked. For the first time, she seemed to understand that this wasn't a game she could win with manipulation. That the evidence was overwhelming. That her boyfriend had already implicated her. That every laugh, every dismissive comment, every inappropriate smile had been documented and would be used against her. Cassandra confessed to stabbing her grandparents. The girl who thought she was the smartest person in the room finally understood the truth. She was going to prison for the rest of her life. Both teenagers were indicted on multiple charges including murder, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, armed robbery, and theft. the district attorney considered seeking the death penalty for Johnny Ryder. Cassandra's age made her ineligible. During a court appearance, cameras captured something that would define public perception of this case. Cassandra Bjorg, facing murder charges for killing her grandparents, displayed a bizarre smirk, an almost amused expression in the middle of a murder hearing. The footage went viral. That brief display of apparent indifference became the defining image of the case. Cassandra Bjorg's face and that unsettling smile became synonymous with the senseless violence committed against Randall and Wendy. The case moved toward trial. The prosecution had overwhelming evidence: Cassandra's confession, forensic proof, Johnny's statements. The only question was how long both would spend behind bars. To spare the surviving family the trauma of a lengthy trial with graphic evidence, both defendants accepted plea deals. On February 2, 2018, Cassandra Bjorg and Johnny Ryder pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder, aggravated assault, and theft. Johnny Ryder addressed the court. He asked for forgiveness. He called his actions abominable and evil and deserving of hellfire. He apologized to the Bjorga family for the pain and grief he caused. Cassandra said nothing. The surviving family finally had their chance to speak. Randall's sister addressed the court with questions that would never have answers. Did her brother die quickly? Did he see Cassie's face? Did he recognize the granddaughter he loved so much as she helped kill him? Chris Bjorga, the couple's son, was too emotional to read his own statement. His wife read it for him. Judge Deborah Turner told the defendants this was one of the worst cases she had ever presided over. "Your behavior lacks any sense of humanity or morality," she said.
I wonder how much vicious cruelty it takes to leave someone to putrefy. Did he die quickly? Did Cassie see his face? Did he see Cassie's face? Someone he loved so much, someone he was so proud of.
It is sad to me that the first time they visit my house and meet my children is in a paper bag from a funeral home.
I just continue to be stunned that you sealed areas so that you could make sure the smell of decaying human flesh wouldn't be noticed, that you had parties and ordered Chinese food with 2 people that you had brutally murdered lying upstairs.
Both received consecutive life sentences plus 21 years, with the possibility of parole. The would-be serial killers who planned to murder multiple people would spend their lives behind bars. Cassandra Bjorga is currently incarcerated at Arendale State Prison in Georgia. She entered prison at 17. Her maximum possible release date is listed as life. She will likely die there. Johnny Ryder serves his sentence in a separate facility. His words in court, asking for forgiveness and acknowledging the evil of his actions, stand in contrast to Cassandra's silence throughout the proceedings. The teenagers who dreamed of becoming serial killers achieved nothing but their own destruction and the devastation of everyone who loved them. Amanda Sterling lost her parents to her own daughter. She tried for years to help Cassandra, eventually admitting defeat and turning to her parents for support. Now those parents are gone, killed by the granddaughter they were trying to save. Chris Bjorga lost both parents in a single act of violence that defies understanding. He carries questions that will never be answered, grief that will never fully heal. The house on Furlong Run stands as a reminder of what happened there, a quiet suburban street that became the site of one of Gwinnett County's most horrific crimes. What drove Cassandra Bjorga to murder the 2 people who loved her most? The absent father? The behavioral disorders that surfaced so young? The relationship with Johnny Ryder? Some combination of nature and circumstance that created something monstrous? These questions have no satisfying answers. Some people cannot be saved. And sometimes, the people who try to save them pay the ultimate price. That interrogation room footage remains the lasting image of this case. A 17-year-old girl smiling at detectives who know exactly what she's done, believing she can manipulate her way out of murder, thinking she's the smartest person in the room. She wasn't. She was just a teenager who killed her grandparents and thought she could laugh her way out of consequences. Randall and Wendy Bjorge deserved a peaceful retirement. They deserved to grow old together. They deserved so much more than what they received from the granddaughter they tried to love. Instead, they became the first and only victims of a planned killing spree, murdered by family, left to rot while their killer threw parties downstairs. And when their killer finally faced justice, she laughed about it, until she couldn't anymore.